pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we can go for roll call.
Chairman McGinnis.
Yes.
Commissioner Fenton is not here. Commissioner McCullough.
Here.
Commissioner Nishai.
Here.
Commissioner Traxel.
Here.
That is a quorum, sir.
Okay, very good. So now we'll go for public comments for any items on the agenda. Any public comments? Nope. Okay, very good. We will move on. So next, we're going to go back to looks like for item 5 is approval of the minutes from the October 18th, 2021 special meeting of the Clausen Board of Ethics. We have them attached. At this point, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Support.
To give her agenda back.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. We'll count you as present now,
Thank you.
Perfect.
since no business has happened until now. So we have a motion to approve the minutes in a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No, you do that. I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next item of business is review and consideration of potential improvements to the forms. When we were here last time, what we had discussed was making some improvements to the forms and to the process. And we had initially talked about a workshop, and then instead we decided to hold this public meeting as is. And so I believe some of the suggestions that were made were to include in the forms for any submissions, so any submissions that any individual makes with an ethical violation or ethical complaint, that they attach any and all evidence, statements, anything that they wish to use to support their complaint to their initial complaint, and that their initial complaint be sworn under oath. Whether it's notarized or sworn under oath, we can kind of leave that up. And then the response was to then redact the complainant along with any type of identifying information and be able to give the person who the complaint was filed against the opportunity to then file any type of documents in support of their response to the complaint so that we as a board can then review both packets to make a decision. Any comments or thoughts as to that process or making a change or?
For me, go ahead.
Oh, go. I think one of the things that we also thought would be helpful is if they cited the ordinance that was being.
Yes.
The
that they were
specific
breaking.
part of
Yes,
the ordinance,
specific
you
part of
reference
the
that
complaint.
section.
Whoever's making the complaint would state in their complaint that there would be a place on here for them to fill out what part of the ordinance was broken in their eyes, in their opinion. I think that's important because then that's what we essentially are going to look at to really make a decision if that was, because that's our guide.
That is
I
correct.
think in the statement of facts, so it doesn't necessarily ask you to say, hey, which of the ordinances do you think it violated? The verbiage is, what ethical standard do you believe that they violated? And I think that was one of the things that we
Yes.
struggled with a little bit of what an ethical standard is might be different depending on who you ask and keeping it more specific to statute
Yes.
language. So that could be, a fairly simple just verbiage change there with changing the word standard to.
And the ordinance, I
Ordinance.
believe, identifies very specific areas of violation. And so to make it, again, so it's not so difficult for the public who might not have a full understanding of everything, the form itself might be able to have a checkbox.
So Detroit's form, which I had originally made a form like that, it's specific, so there's only like so many things that you can actually complain, so you have to literally check it off. They
I
list
like
them all.
that.
This, A, B, C, D, E, F are the only reasons you can do this. Which one of these are you going after? Then you better support it.
Yeah.
So that there's
I
no
think it makes it
confusion.
more simple, but you're also not requiring the average citizen to be a policy expert either, because
I
we don't
agree.
want to have people with concerns not file something because they're like, oh, well, I don't know all the rules. I'm not going to,
Correct. Correct. So I think by taking our current form and doing exactly what you said, August, and adding basically a checklist under the statement of facts or a checklist as to select these specific violations, I think would make a whole lot of sense. And then from there, people can then go through and explain a little bit more what they have, and then they have their oath. We talked about, it has a notary on here already on the form, so we already have that set. And then the second part would just be to then allow the person that the complaint was filed against an opportunity to file something in response. I mean, we're not a fact-finding body, so we're not sought to go and find the information ourselves. But in the same vein, it feels a little
Unfair.
a little unfair. That's a little unfair to be able to somebody can bring a complaint against person A, and person A has no ability to say, wait a minute, I didn't do this.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that they could come to the meeting that we,
Sure.
deliberate, and they could present anything at that point.
Sure.
But, you also too, like, if someone has a complaint leveled against them, you also don't want to force, maybe they're like, you know what, I don't really feel this deserves a response, or,
They shouldn't have
you
to-
feel obligated to defend themselves necessarily.
And I don't think a person has an obligation to, I think, but a person should have a right to.
Yeah, the ability to, if
Yeah,
they chose.
an ability to.
This may be a dumb question, but how does the person that the complaint was brought against know that there was a complaint brought against them?
I think we have to serve that person
That's
with
a really good question. We should notify them. or
We-
some
we
sort
need
of-
to
I don't know that that's specifically spelled out in the ordinance. I was looking for it right now. As we started going, is there a must notify? It doesn't say anywhere that I see
I
that they
was
must
looking-
be notified.
There's
It says
nothing-
hearings can be called and things like that, but there's no like direct notification in the ordinance, nor do I think that's something you can like add to the ordinance right now, but it could be a policy. It's best practices. I wouldn't see a situation where it wouldn't happen, but it doesn't require it, and I'm looking for that now, and I don't see that.
It does have in the form, so the name, the position or office held, their address, their email and phone number for, the subject of the complaint. I guess that's another thing too, all that stuff would be posted, right? So if somebody wants to level a complaint against somebody, an official, I mean, their information's gonna be on the website so that they could get that information. And then once we see that there's a complaint, I mean, we're gonna have their information as well, their email and phone number. So I don't think notifying them will be all that difficult. I just think that it should be spelled out somewhere that, yes,
Part of
they
the
should be
process.
notified.
Correct.
At least by best practices.
Yeah, right.
Then I think you're right. I mean, I agree with you. If it's not in the ordinance, it's not in the ordinance as a must, but I think best practices would say that a person who has a complaint leveled against them, should receive some type of information or notification that a complaint has been levied against them.
And so open to discussion too. I mean, and I don't know if for any privacy issues or anything, but like if you're the subject of a complaint, it seems intuitive that you would have the right to see all of the material and the evidence that's, being used to, against you, so to speak, so that they
Yes.
have full access to, hey, let me review everything that's being submitted. So if I do choose to, defend myself, I have a full
Have a right
opportunity.
to do so.
Do the updated forms have to go back to city council for approval?
I don't know that anything says anything about who approves the forms in here, to be honest with you.
What I
Not
would-
that I've seen.
Yeah, what I would think is we would take our suggestions today. If we wish to update the forms, we would then request that the city attorney make the necessary updates since he prepared all the initial control documents.
I've got a couple different sets that I've done, and
Okay.
that I thought were going to come out today, and they didn't. So and like back when we got through all this, I'm like, well, this would really help as I'm drawing new boxes on the form as we're going through those hearings. And I have some of that markup stuff and I think Rennis has some of it too. So I will move forward with getting that in front of you.
So I think something as simple as having that type of form in front of us for us to be able to see. Again, taking the form that we have, not completely reinventing the wheel, but then adding a section that allows for or requires somebody to identify the section of the ordinance that they find the person violated in there, and maybe some mention in here again, in the form itself, that a person attach any and all evidence that they wish to have. Because what I don't want to have happen is, we can have the hearing, and then there can be a public hearing, but for us as a body, we don't want people to show for the hearing to present a significant amount of new evidence
Right.
that nobody's been able to see and the other side's not been able to see. Because again, we're not an actual body of law, so therefore, I think whatever they wish to rely upon needs to be presented to us up front, so we can present to the other side. The other side then has a chance to present to us whatever their response is, and then both sides have a chance to come to the hearing, then when we have the hearing, to present whatever they wish to present.
Yeah, that way we're not getting supplemental information, as
Yeah.
Like you did last time on the night of the hearing in the
Yes.
form of 3 pages of written response. Yeah, I mean, it's
It gets difficult.
gonna happen.
But if we can at least, best practices, try to tailor that as much as possible, or limit that as much as possible, then we can be in a better position as a board and as a body to be able to actually review everything and give, I think, the best opinion that we can possibly give.
The statement of facts section, outside of changing the language between which ethical standard to, hey, which specific ordinance, and then having some kind of a checkbox, I think it reads pretty well. It's asking
Yeah.
you to include all of the relevant dates and names and people who you think can support you, and it says all documents you deem relevant. So I think
Yes.
the spirit of that is kind of saying, hey, what's the complaint? What is the violation? What is the evidence? Just go ahead and submit it all, and we'll review it.
Yeah, I agree with you. My only thought was if there was something, just again, I'm thinking of the lay person that looks at it, just so they understand that we may not consider anything else other than what's been submitted
Yeah.
as part of it, just to avoid any type of question or confusion.
And we're talking about adding the list of violations here, right? So under the two parties, but before the statement of facts, that would be listed.
Correct.
Right. This is what I'm alleging, or this is what the purpose of my complaint, and cite it directly, make them circle it or check it off.
I just want to make sure we do that before, so that they realize if they can't tick off any of the boxes,
They're
they need
not
to
going
continue on with
forward.
their statement of facts, right?
Yes.
Would something like adding in a sentence that, additional documents or supplemental documents will not be considered, just almost like a disclaimer,
I think,
would that
I
suffice?
think
you
you're gonna
think?
need
Good luck.
email chains or whatever the communication is, right?
Someone comes in and says, I have a statement, they're still gonna give it to you during public comment
Oh,
or
yeah,
however they
right.
want. It's gonna be hard to,
I think the point of putting the language in there is just hopefully that the person submits everything they wish to submit. And if we say, I think you're right, we might not be able to say, we can't preclude somebody from coming up and speaking, but we could put a statement in that says additional documents may not be considered.
May not be.
And now all of a sudden, it's not,
things
an
change between the minute it's filed and the hearing date, which is gonna be 4, 5, 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
Things
yeah,
change.
That's true.
New people say, oh, I saw them over there too, or,
Fair enough.
I think it's difficult to try to stifle anything additional between filing and hearing date.
This is the legal side of me that says there's.
That doesn't
cutoff
matter.
dates.
I know.
Therefore, there's a cutoff date, right? So, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a happy medium, because we don't want to, again, discourage the public from, voicing a complaint, but also, we have to try to avoid having it be so cumbersome and difficult to make a decision,
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like the last hearing, we just spent so much time trying to just digest the information
Yeah.
and not enough time we spent the time to deliberate it as well. We were here for quite a while. It was definitely not a quick process, but it took us a lot of time just to digest it the first time through, whereas it would have been a lot nicer for us to have been able to have had more of that information on both ends in advance, so that we were in a better position to deliberate. But I guess I agree with you, August. There's really no way to fully limit that, and stuff does change.
No, I mean, I do think that there was potential, thinking back, it's like sort of of how that all went, of somehow structuring your process better. Like we take on A, then B, C, then we make a decision. Instead of going back, well, wait, can we go back to B and talk about this some more? You got to kind of structure it a little bit. And I don't know the answer. It's just, I think that looking back, especially going through the minutes a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh man, that was brutal. Which I do after every council meeting anyway, but.
It was really confusing to the way the motions were worded. So this person did violate, and the next one was, did they not violate? And then someone did violate, but then there wasn't a corresponding did not violate. That took a long time, I think, for all of us to figure out exactly what we were voting on.
Yeah.
That would be some feedback too, is to figure out maybe, is there could every motion be the same? Is it all in the affirmative, or is it all in the negative?
I think for us, it's however we choose to bring the motions, right? And I think we were probably working with our broken training wheels.
Could have been. I feel like that was I feel like the wording was already created. I don't think that.
No, there was I think there was Rennis had recommended
Rennis had recommended
potential verbiage of a
Yeah.
motion,
And-
and we did it, and then we decided, hey, well, because there was a split, and so, well, let's run it back
yeah,
and
your memory's
see if
better.
it,
Yeah.
changes anything.
You got to remember that that there was politicians involved, not public officials necessarily. It wasn't like it was someone at work. So the wording gets used on a headline or a lawn sign or something. So I think they were trying to work around that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess our biggest hope is that we just don't have any other ethical complaints.
Well, there you go.
Or-
But
I guess
you know,
the reason I mentioned that is our job to figure out, to your point, Kevin, that we're not a fact-finding body.
Yes.
Did they violate, or is there no proof of a violation? Right, so that's what I'm thinking about, where all that language was getting very confusing, was, do we have to definitively prove that you did not violate? Or do we have to definitively prove that you did violate? I don't know that those are worded well
Where's the
for
burden of
the type of body that we
to
are.
bring you lawyers involved, the burden of proof is it's not an actual court. So they have to decide which angle of that
Sure.
you're actually here to do.
Sure.
And that's part of why you guys talk so much about it, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out which angle you were taking.
I think the recommendation we were given was, kind of use more of a preponderance of the evidence, which is sort of your 51-49.
Yes.
But, in reality, I think, I don't know, maybe just the normal human of you wants to maybe, if you're going to actually say, yes, this person committed a violation, like, maybe a little bit more clear and convincing, less. But I mean that's just how, as the individual, you choose to come to your conclusion. I don't think we need to legislate that. But obviously, if you I think by streamlining the form and having them be able to click which ordinance they specifically think that because that was one of the things too. We had to get to the bottom of, well, what do we think that they're even alleging is the problem?
Yes.
And then I think what we came to the conclusion, or at least what we thought, was they'd come and said, nope, that's actually not what and if so we were
That's going to clear up a lot, I think,
Yeah.
just having them have to check off that checklist.
Yeah.
I mean, what
I
about
agree.
for the statement of facts, adding that all documents or statements or whatever need to be to us before our actual hearing date? So they have really up till at least the day of the hearing.
Right.
So at least it's not coming at us maybe necessarily in open forum that's maybe something, again, we still maybe can't stop people from saying it, but at least it would let them know they have a deadline. So even if it is 4 or 5 weeks from the time we get this.
You could add a 24 hours before the meeting,
Yeah,
presented to the
an
city
actual
clerk.
maybe deadline.
During business hours, by close of business the day before, so that I can get
Yeah.
something out. that
Yeah,
you can
I like
see.
that idea, just to give us, because again, we had two things working
I
against us the
contemplate
last
that,
time.
okay.
Was we were, one, reading some material for the first time and trying to just digest it as of that exact moment. And then two, we were trying to figure out exactly what they said the violation was.
And we
so-
had, sorry to interrupt, we had like interwoven issues
We did.
across the 2 or 3 complaints, I don't remember. And so there were same characters involved, alleging different things at the same timeline as the other complaints, and we were trying to extract the information
Yes.
and figure out, and, plot those timelines separately, and the characters separately, and the accusations separately. I think that was just very confusing how they all came together in one meeting, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind my inputting into this stuff, because
I mind it a
I
lot.
sat here right with you, and I'm like, but just for the sake of us trying to get an
Yeah.
administrative ease of process for everyone,
Yeah.
Yes.
felt like I was here too, so.
I'll definitely appreciate it, so. I guess then what I should do is I should make a motion to amend the forms, to add a list of violations, to add should I start with that? Should we break it down into separate
You don't have to
things?
break it down, I
Okay,
don't think.
so
I have
amend
enough
the
room to write it
forms
all down.
To add a specific selection of the list of violations, and to add under the statement of facts, a comment that any and all documents or statements need to be provided at least by the close of business the day before the hearing. And that we amend the process to allow the person of who the complaint's lodged against the opportunity to file a responsive statement or responsive document,
Subject to that same timeline.
subject to the same timeline.
Support.
Okay, well, you want to do a roll call vote?
Yep, roll call
Okay,
vote.
we'll do Fenton,
Yes?
McCullough,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nishai,
Yes.
Traxel.
Yes.
Okay, I'll work on that.
I just noticed some typos in the minutes that were already
Oh,
approved.
no. What do we got? That's easy
Oh,
to
no.
fix, though.
Just dates for McGinnis, it says 9/22/22
Oh, yeah.
on both. The top and the bottom, or it's abstain. Just should read. Shouldn't that read 10/18/21?
I was
No.
not present
He wasn't at the meeting on
9/22.
September 22nd.
of 20.
Of 2021 then, so it's just the wrong, it's got the years 22.
It does down there, right
the
there.
top and
Okay,
the bottom.
it's 21. It said September 2nd special meeting, but it says 9/22/22 in the abstain. Okay, I see what
In
you're
both
talking.
places.
There, and where else did you do it? Yeah. Yep, and on the bottom, okay. I see what you're saying. Administratively handled, no problem.
Okay, very good. Then is there any other business? I don't believe so.
Do you want to, how do you want to get back together to look over some forms?
I'd like
I
to.
normally just like email it out and we'd hash it out, but that's not viable Open Meetings Act stuff, so.
No, I think we should set another meeting. I think set another meeting at least a month from now, so give you enough time. I don't want to rush the
I already
preparation.
have it done. I've been working on this since since our last, what was it, October 18th? This is what the next, October 19th,
Well,
I
if we
started
have,
working
if
on
we have
this.
calendars,
So-
people have calendars available, we can look at our calendars and see when we think we can come back.
I mean, I need 2 weeks would be enough for me to
Do we
get
want
this
to
put
come
together.
back on the 26th? It's Rosh Hashanah. I
I'm
don't know.
pretty.
I will be gone.
I'm flexible.
I'll be
so-
at a MERS convention. I won't be here. I'll be.
Okay, so
yeah.
then, you're the one that said 2 weeks, August.
Yeah, I know. And then I opened up my calendar, like you said.
October
Sir.
3rd,
What day of the week is that?
the first Monday.
Monday. Yeah, that should be fine.
I can do October 3rd.
Wednesdays are the only days
I'm
that
good
are
on
usually a challenge.
Monday.
Yeah, I can't do Wednesdays, but
No,
Monday,
we'll just-
October
We just
3rd is
keep the
good.
same Monday, 7 o'clock? Is 7 fine, or is 7:30 better, or,
I'm an earlier the better guy because I'm here all day. So,
so like 9 o'clock?
yeah, I think you handle it by yourself then.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, how about we plan to come back on October 3rd at 7 o'clock? Then we can review the forms and hopefully approve them and be.
Yeah, I mean, even if you have to change something that night, that won't be a problem. You can just make the motion to approve it then, and boom,
Then
we'll
we're
have it
good to
done.
go.
We'll end up with forms no matter what at the end of that meeting.
Okay.
Cool.
And are there any administration reports? I don't have anything on my end, or anybody else? Okay, public comment for any items not on the agenda? Anybody wish to come up? Nope.
Okay.
So we'll move forward. Commissioner comments? I have no comments other than thank you, everybody, for getting together tonight. I do appreciate it. I know it's been a while since we met and everything, and that's a good thing, because it means we haven't had any
That's right.
complaints. So the fewer times we get together, the better, but in the same vein, I'm glad we were able to get together this evening.
Before you move on, I just have one quick comment, just potentially for future conversations about adjustments to the ordinance. If there are adjustments to the ordinance, I think we need to think about increasing our quorum, because we had a situation last time where any tie votes were, failed motions. So I think we need to think about a quorum of at least 5.
So committee of the whole for quorum. I don't,
I mean, we could have
know
more
how that
commissioners. I
works,
don't remember
but-
what the ordinance said, but I think we have to have a higher quorum.
so you never get stuck with an even number?
Correct.
You- I guess the chair would have the right to just adjourn the meeting and not have the meeting if there's going to be
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
even number.
fine. I mean,
That's what our council does now, though, if there's
I
not
just
an
didn't know
even
if we
number.
need
If
that
there's an even number, they won't
needs
take
to
the
go
certain things
through
on.
Approval
Yeah.
to change in the ordinance, because it doesn't, I don't think it currently says.
Interesting question, I'll
I
ask.
think the quorum is 3, but when we have 4, we were getting those tie
Right.
votes.
yeah.
Well, the quorum is 2, actually, not even 3.
Was it?
It's only 2.
Two. Yeah, it's only 2, because initially the body was set smaller, so.
Because,
Because there were originally 3 of us.
That's
And then we
right.
requested it to go up to 5, but we didn't adjust the quorum.
a 2-2 decision is still a decision. So, if you think about it,
Yeah,
in the positive or the not. However,
yeah, I mean, I'm fine us revisiting that or adjourning hearings if we wish to have an odd number. We can always talk about that at our.
It was a unique situation where there wasn't a fifth member seated, and it would have
We didn't
been
have a
really
fifth
bad
member.
once those complaints hit to suddenly seat a fifth person. Because they
Yeah.
get appointed by council, and the
Right.
council and the mayor were the ones that were gonna be brought up here. So I, even though it came up to me, I said, I'm not even gonna bring anyone forward right now. It's just
No.
not the
No.
right move.
I think if you're going to adjust it, it has to either be, leave it kind of as is, or say it's got to be all 5. You can't just have it be where it's an odd number,
No, no,
because then it's
no.
like, well, if
Even
there's going to
number,
be
actually,
4,
yeah.
say, all right, well, you don't show up then, or,
Yeah, I agree.
True. So, I think that's an excellent point.
So we can take a look at the ordinance and I guess to see on that. So if we want to have it always be all 5 for these hearings, we can always,
Council would have to make an amendment to the ordinance.
they would have to do
Have to go
that.
through council, yeah.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be hard for you to come forward and say, I'd like to recommend this. And it just takes 2 meetings to make the adjustment. We put it in the paper like any other ordinance, anything
Okay.
else. It's just same process as a vegetation ordinance or a fence ordinance or anything. It's all the same process.
Okay.
Amendments happen, it's not a
All
problem.
right. Well, if there's nothing else, then I'd make a motion now to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
You.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.